The federal government is without lawful authority to order banks to reduce loan amounts owed by homeowners on mortgages. Such a forced reduction would constitute a taking under the Fifth Amendment's takings clause and would expose the government to financial liability to the banks. A more likely scenario would be a loan from the feds to the banks, or the forced purchase of a new class of stocks by the feds from the banks that would reduce the principal on the mortgage loans and free up cash for the banks to invest in lower risk ventures. This is also of dubious constitutionality, but it is unlikely to be interfered with by the courts. The government of late has behaved as if it can right any inequity and cure any problem with cash. The federal government is the world's largest debtor, and its debt grows with every tick of the clock. It is utter madness for it to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. This do-gooder attitude is fueled by the big government crowd that wants to convey the impression to homeowners underwater that it is doing something for them. Constitutionally, the feds may not do anything for them directly because the General Welfare Clause requires that all federal laws benefit everybody, not just some select group's private welfare. Economically, they don't need any help. As long as the homeowner maintains payments of the mortgage, the underwater status is meaningful only for statisticians. All right. Joining me now to talk about all this, my Fox Business colleague, Cody Willard, co-host of Happy Hour, the only live television show that broadcasts from a bar. Cody, welcome here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so you and I have together railed against corporate welfare for Wall Street.
Now we got homeowner welfare that we need to rail against.
Why is the government doing this, and where do they think economically that this will get?
Well, it's clear that you allude to there in the intro that they need to tell the millions of people who borrowed money at the top of the real estate bubble and are now underwater facing losses on their mortgages that they are doing something for them. And what ends up happening is that those of us who have rented and been waiting for prices to come down because we knew that there was a problem in 2005 and we did not want to borrow money at excessive bubble times to buy those bubbled assets. And those of us who have actually not borrowed, again, those responsible homeowners who haven't levered themselves up needlessly, taking first mortgages, second mortgages. I mean, one of the things that the government's doing now with the latest stimulus package is literally taking second mortgages. If you already had a mortgage on your house, say in 2003 for $200,000, and then your house appreciated another $50,000, $60,000, so you went back to the till, got yourself another $50,000, so you have $250,000 in debt on a $250,000 asset in the year 2005, and that asset today is worth $150,000. They're going to take my money, the renter's money, my parents' money, the saving homeowner's money, and take it from us and literally write a check to the homeowner.
All right, couple of questions, and let's continue with your scenario. A house once worth $350,000 with a $250,000 mortgage on it, it's now worth $100,000.
I was even saying it was only worth $250,000. Right, they didn't even have any equity in it.
Oh, okay, so there's no equity in the house. The debt on the house is worth more than what the house could be sold for. A fair definition of underwater.
Correct.
If the homeowner is still employed, and the homeowner can still afford the mortgage, and the homeowner continues to pay the mortgage, everybody's happy. Who cares that it's underwater unless they want to sell it?
Well, but you know, nobody likes to own an asset that they think is worth less than what they paid for it. So, you know, there's certainly...
But is that the government? Is that the taxpayer's problem?
Certainly, it's not. And seeing what the problem is, it's not the taxpayer that ends up getting hurt. It's not the general taxpayer, as you allude to there in that intro, too. It is a specific class of taxpayer that's going to benefit from it. Therefore, it is a specific class of taxpayer that is going to be hurt by that same policy. And who is benefiting from it? The over-leveraged homeowner, and trickle down, any homeowner. Who is hurt by it? Anybody who doesn't own a home. Now, you tell me, in this country, I thought liberals were supposed to be fighting for the poor people who don't own homes. And somehow we have gotten this entire concept so turned around that liberals think that we need to give welfare to homeowners, we need to tax renters to give money to to homeowners, and conservatives go along with it. This is nothing new, by the way, with the Democrat administration.
I agree with you that it's nothing new with the Democratic administration.
Remember the hope for homeowners under Bush?
Well, remember the $150,000 HUD mortgages that President Bush gave out with zero down payment? I wonder how many of those people still own those homes that are still paying mortgages on.
A lot of them, and we are right now taking welfare money from people who are renting and giving it to those same people who took $150,000 of HUD money to buy an asset that wasn't worth $150,000.
Here's the problem from my end, the constitutional end. The government can't draw a bright line on one side of which it helps, on the other side of which it burdens, because government is supposed to treat everybody equally. The laws are supposed to apply to everybody equally. You tell me
out of that 70, 80, 100,000 page long IRS tax code that there are not, it's the entire 100,000 pages is doing that. It draws a line. Hey, if you own a boat in Botswana, you get a tax write-off. If you don't own a boat in Botswana, you don't get a tax write-off. If you're at AT&T and you get welfare money to give prescription drugs to your employees, you actually get to deduct that from your income. Oh, wait, Obama took that out in the new thing. So it's no longer that corporate welfare, but we'll still write the check for the actual services.
I know your field is the economy, and it's
everybody
is getting
history, a benefit from it.
But can you imagine that the people who put together the federal government, remember, the states created the federal government. The states were independent sovereignties. They gave away a little of their power to form this new government. That they ever contemplated that it would micromanage us like this, that it would take from A and B and give to C with impunity, and A and B, like you, the renter, still have to keep paying?
No, this is what drives me crazy with anybody who says they're a conservative and they vote for Republicans who put together these types of policies, and they go, well, we do it less than the Democrats. Look, what do they think the end game of all of this is? If you are on principle okay with redistributing poor people's money to rich people, whether you're a liberal or conservative, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, the end game is socialism. The end game is communism. We end up destroying personal freedoms. You hit it in the top there. The government can only take away your freedom. That's what they do. When they take away your money, they redistribute your money, and they say it's for your own good.
All right.
It's not.
You were here when I was chatting with Professor Robert Higgs, one of my favorite folks in the country, next to Cody Willard and my colleagues here. Professor Higgs predicts, you heard him, and I was trying to read the look on your face, that the end game is not violence. The end game is telling the government to go take a hike. Do you think that that's the end game? Because both political parties will further this. The Republicans will further this no matter what they claim, unless Ron Paul is at the head of the Republican ticket.
By the way, I've got Ron Paul on Happy Hour tonight, so everybody tune in. We're going to talk to him about all of this and the new poll, including showing that he's basically neck and neck with Obama. Now, look, I truly believe in this country. I believe in the Constitution, and I believe in the American dream, and I don't think it's gone away. I know that we've got a very daunting fight. The Republicans pretend that they're for freedoms. They're not. Democrats pretend they're liberals. They're not. We got to get back to something else, and I think that's what's happening. The Tea Party, the Latte Party, the entire underground movement.
Latte Party?
That's the liberal version of the Tea Party.
Is it against big government?
No, it's for big government, but whatever. At least it's not for corporate government, and that's what the Democrats are. Look,
but do you think we'll reach the point where everybody who voted for TARP and the stimulus and the Patriot Act and health care and all these big government monstrosities that assault the Constitution will be thrown out of office?
They're done. I truly believe that the bailouts were the turning point. You asked about health care earlier as a turning point. I don't think so. I think the bailouts, when you took $10 trillion to buy mortgage-backed securities and 0% interest rates and TARP itself, you have destroyed the premise of your country. No conservative, no liberal will ever be okay with a bailout. We have to vote out everybody who socialized our country with that bailout.
5 o'clock Eastern on the Fox Business Network. Happy Hour. Eric Boland, Rebecca Diamond, the great Cody Willard. Only show on the planet.
And tonight,
from a
Ron Paul.
And tonight, the guy who's tied with President Obama in the Rasmussen polls, Congressman Ron Paul. Cody, it's a pleasure. I'll be watching it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
You can catch today's show on foxnews.com/freedom, watch it on Sirius 145, XM 168, or online at foxnewstalk.com at 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. From New York, defending freedom.